If you want to be fluent in a foreign language, you're going to want to be able to reach flow states during the learning stages. You're probably familiar with the concept of flow, but it's basically a positive mental state where you feel in the zone and everything just comes naturally. So in this video, I'm going to define what I mean by fluency, explain why a flow state is worth pursuing, and share 5 tips to help you get there. Hi, I'm Thomas. I used to teach Russian for the military. I learned the language as an adult and was eventually recruited to help instruct, so I know how uncomfortable the learning process can be. Fluency, as I see it, is the quality of not feeling constrained by the target language and showing little to no hesitation when speaking. Fluency, again, though, is just one aspect of overall proficiency that you can improve with the right practice. When practicing, if you can periodically reach flow states at different stages in your learning journey, the whole process will be much more enjoyable and you'll likely speak more fluently as a result. So what do we do? First, we want to build islands of competence. This is basically mastering sections of the language, even if you're just doing a couple words, couple phrases, or even up to a few sentences at a time, kind of mastering stories. But the reason why this can be important is because one of the characteristics of flow is basically losing yourself in the activity. You lose yourself in the activity through all of this muscle memory and the repetition of doing it over and over again. But this is also great because you have a reference point of when somebody told you that you were doing it correctly. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, in his book Flow, he talks about how that's one of the characteristics is just losing yourself, but then if you happen to think about how you're doing, then you have a positive reference point, which then only further contributes to the high that you're experiencing and that sensation of flow. Believe it or not, these points of reference will help you perform better in areas of the language, not just with stuff like grammar and vocab, but also as far as jokes and just building your emotional intelligence within the target language. Next, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough informal input. This is basically massive amounts of exposure to the language in authentic cultural contexts. That way, you'll be able to function more naturally in conversations and other informal settings. One of the best ways that I recommend doing this is with a software called Lingopie. It's basically unlimited access to content in these authentic cultural contexts. I started using Lingopie only a couple months ago, but I really wish that I had them earlier on because I love watching TV shows, whether it be series or even things on YouTube. And I found that a lot of these things are on Lingopie and they give you dual sets of subtitles. So it can be, if your native language is English, it'll be in English as well as the target language. And it's really helpful to learn these new words in context because if there's a word or expression that you don't know, you can click on that word and then it'll not only give you the definition right away, but it'll add them to a set of digital flashcards later on that you can go back to and also do different interactive games with. One of the things I'm really impressed with Lingopie on is the AI explanation of grammatical structures. You can click on a word or expression and it'll kind of explain to you this is why it's functioning this way. Lingopie has 9 different languages and over 3,000 hours worth of content. So it's really unlimited access to endless amounts of content that you can kind of immerse yourself in. It's through Netflix, YouTube, like I said, and even local TV shows as well. The interface is also just really user-friendly. I like how you can toggle back and forth, but then also hit different parts of the transcript and then it'll take you right to that part in the video so that you can re-watch it as many times as you need to. It's not always possible to travel to countries where the target language is spoken and speak with native speakers at all times. So this is one of those opportunities that Lingopie offers where you can immerse yourself in the language from the comfort of your own home and just watch all these different shows while at the same time you're storing all this new vocabulary, getting these grammatical explanations, because it's not from a textbook or anything. You're getting lost in the cultural context that they provide you with. I highly recommend you hit the link in the description for a discount and start using Lingopie to make your language learning process a whole lot easier and much more fun too. Of the times that I felt like I experienced a flow state in the target language while practicing, it was definitely in part due to listening first and being interested. I feel like honest curiosity not only makes you more enjoyable to be around, it also helps you first, because one of the characteristics of flow is also reducing self-consciousness. And when you're interested in what other people are saying and you can kind of read the room more, you're paying attention to everybody else, then you start to think less about yourself and how you're doing, and then you're just honestly curious about what everybody else is talking about. I've noticed that kind of the performance of actively contributing to a conversation just comes that much more naturally. This also means not being pedantic about things like word choice or grammar. While it is helpful to have a quick feedback loop, correcting each other's mistakes is a trap that good students often fall into, and it kind of holds everybody back because you really want to be able to lose yourself in the process and read the room, balance the conversation in ways that you need to, and then just kind of have it be as enjoyable as possible for everybody. Tip number 4 is to make autonomous learning decisions. So this basically means you want to increase your skills and challenges in unison so that you're kind of balancing between anxiety and boredom. So too much of a challenge would lead to anxiety, but then too little of a challenge is boredom, and then you kind of get less motivated because you're not challenged enough. There were times in my language learning journey where I actually had to pull back a little bit. There's one time in particular in immersion where I was placed in the highest level, and after some kind of low test scores, they recommended, hey, do you want to step down? And my immediate response was no, I want to keep going, I want to push myself. But then I realized, as the director explained to me, he goes, you can study all day long, pretty much anywhere and anytime, but here in this immersion experience, I recommend that you step down just so that you can, or go down to the lower level so that you can embrace the immersion experience and then just get more out of it. And I'm really glad that I took that advice and that I went down the lower level, and I was able to get much more out of the immersion and eventually got to higher levels of proficiency, pretty quickly, because I was just embracing those experiences and making sure that I was challenging myself enough, but knowing the balance between, not going too far and surrounding myself with the right people at the right time. It's okay to be kind of competitive at times. I've noticed that a lot of language learners will be kind of competitive at times, and I think it can be pretty unhealthy if it goes in certain directions, comparisons and stuff like that. You don't want that, but it's just constantly about finding that balance so that you can reach those flow states more frequently, and then the overall process just becomes better. All right, the 5th and final tip is exercising your level of focus and channeling attention. In the study of flow, these are identified as perhaps the most important tools for quality of life and just enjoying the process of any activity that you're doing. So with something like language learning, I would encourage you to practice, doing something that I'm really bad at, which is focusing on one particular activity for an extended amount of time. So that could be 15 minutes, even 5 minutes, or up to an hour. I think usually it's around 50 minutes, 50, so a little bit less than an hour is the recommended time to be sitting in a classroom or focused on one thing. This is a tool that can apply to basically anything in life, but I think that with language learning, something that's inherently uncomfortable a lot of times, and then you're also dealing with the feedback of other people in your surroundings, you want to be able to exercise your focus and how long can you hold attention on one topic, even if that's within a certain conversation, or if you're doing an exercise at a beginner level, how long can you focus and stay on topic with that one exercise, that one topic. Regarding the topic of flow state and fluency, keep in mind that even if you're speaking fluently, you may not always be experiencing a flow state. So I think it's important to recognize that native speakers, of course, while using the language, they'll cry, yell, or fight. And because a flow state is a positive mental experience, I think it's safe to say if you're experiencing all this mental turmoil, you are not in a flow state, but somebody could still be speaking fluently. And so I just want to say that with these flow states, it's something to strive for and something you can experience with conversation practice or studying, reading in the target language. But remember that if you're not in it all the time, that's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And you know, there are really only a few, kind of a handful amount of times that I can count to, or periods where I feel like I was constantly getting into a flow state. It's hard. It takes practice getting there. And the tips that I shared with you today, I hope you enjoy them, because I really took some time to kind of reflect back on the things that I've done to help me reach those states, and that I continuously have to work at it so that I can get there. I still try to practice and use my Russian as much as possible, but there are other languages that I want to learn, and I'm going to be implementing these same steps in the learning process for the new languages. And so I hope you guys enjoyed these. Let me know what you think in the comments. If there's anything in particular you feel like I might have missed regarding, you know, a flow state. And I think sometimes it's kind of funny, people talking about flow, but it's really about just making the most out of these experiences and then feeling like you can lose yourself in the process. So like I said, let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.